Ticker News with Aaron Young. This is Ticker Today.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me today. President Trump lashes out over new tensions between Israel and Iran, even as a fragile ceasefire shows signs of holding. His off-the-cuff comments, you could call them, come with a language warning today and a message for Tehran. New intel reveals US airstrikes may have failed to significantly slow Iran's nuclear program. The Pentagon admits the strikes only set progress back by months. Israel and the White House, officials insisting otherwise. Pressed mid-flight, Trump dodges a crucial question about NATO's Article 5 with the alliance at a crossroads across Europe, and America's commitment to collective defense once again in the spotlight. A surprise nomination Donald Trump put forward by the Nobel Peace Prize following the ceasefire he helped to broker. A Ukrainian politician has hit out at that though. And on Wall Street, markets roar back. The Dow surges more than 500 points. Bitcoin breaks through $105,000 as investor optimism rebounds in the wake of geopolitical cooling. This is Ticker Today, bringing you the top stories shaping the world right now. First today, President Donald Trump has expressed frustration, you could call it, over ongoing clashes between Israel and Iran despite a US-brokered ceasefire. In a press briefing for the history books, the president's frustration was evident, and a warning, this one comes with a language warning.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
All right, that seemed to have worked, is the good news, because this was the attack that Trump was first talking about, which came after the ceasefire. Now there are indications that the ceasefire may be holding, with Israel lifting most restrictions on civilian movement and reopening its airports. Both Israel and Iran appear to have achieved their immediate objectives, and Trump confirmed that the US is not pursuing regime change in Iran.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos, and ideally we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see how it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job, which is exactly where I've been saying for years, you cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon.
Reports indicate US strikes on 3 Iranian nuclear sites have only delayed Iran's progress for a few months. Initial intelligence assessments from the Pentagon suggest that Iran's enriched uranium stockpile remains largely unaffected and many centrifuges are now still operational. But a senior Israeli official believes the strikes may have slowed Iran's nuclear program by several years. The White House rejecting the assessment as well. And Donald Trump has avoided answering whether he remains committed to Article 5 of NATO, which is the alliance's cornerstone principle. His response comes amid ongoing discussions about NATO's role in global security and the war in Ukraine. Trump's stance on the matter raises concerns among allies about the US commitment to mutual defence. It came as the US president spoke to reporters on Air Force One on his way to the NATO summit in The Hague, the Netherlands, and was asked about his commitment to Article 5.
Are you still committed to Article 5 of NATO?
Depends on your definition. There's numerous definitions of Article 5. You know that, right? But I'm committed to being their friends. You know, I've become friends with many of those leaders, and I'm committed to helping them.
Meanwhile, a House Republican has nominated President Donald Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize after he facilitated that ceasefire. The ceasefire was declared Monday, concluding a brief period of hostilities that began with Israel's preemptive strike against Iran. Israel's ambassador to the UN was asked about whether Donald Trump should be nominated.
Well, first, I think that President Trump deserves a Nobel Peace Prize. I think we should thank him for his leadership, for the brave decision he took, and to recognize the effort of the United States. Regarding your second question, yes, we hope to see a ceasefire also in Gaza. There is a proposal on the table that Ambassador Witkoff put forward, and we hope to renew the negotiations on that proposal.
US Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell stated that the central bank requires additional time to assess the impact of Trump's tariffs on inflation. He said the evaluation must be completed before the Fed contemplates any interest rate cuts in the future. Powell's comments come in response to demands from President Trump for a reduction in rates, but Powell says the central bank will continue to study the effects of tariffs on the economy before making any decisions regarding potential rate changes.
And I would say we would expect to see meaningful effects kind of June, July, August. And if we don't, we'll be learning something. We have a highly adaptive, flexible economy, and it's certainly a possibility that the tariffs that we expect will come through in a much smaller level. We can't know that until we actually see it, but I think we'll be learning as we go. And if we see that, then that would lead us to want to cut earlier. The other thing that would lead us to want to cut earlier is if we actually did see some weakness in the labor market of a troubling nature, and we don't see that.
Meanwhile, new reports indicate that more Australian mortgage borrowers are struggling to meet their repayments. But experts believe the overall numbers remain relatively low, may decrease even further. Anticipated interest rate cuts expected to contribute to the positive trend. Despite rising arrears, analysts maintain an optimistic outlook on the housing market. The Dow Jones experienced a surge following President Trump's announcement of that ceasefire. Investors responded positively to the news, indicating a shift in market sentiment. The Dow finished the day up 1.2%, 507 points. The 30 stock index also helped support its 200-day moving average after closing a hair above it on Monday. The S&P 500 increased by 1.2% there as well. The 10-year Treasury yield eased to just under 4.3%. Oil prices tumbled 5.2%. And Bitcoin has surged to $105,000 as investors monitor the ongoing ceasefire between the two countries. The index has remained green for most of this month in June, indicating sustained buying pressure from US investors. Meanwhile, two Republican senators proposing principles for a new bill aimed at establishing a legal framework for digital assets.